So for Plan ID class, we have our Italian cypresses. These are kind of big old ones, not the prettiest guys. They're a little old, but that tall, narrow, skinny, upright shape, that's what's going to give them away. So if you see if you're driving around the high desert or Southern California and you see these tall, skinny, dense evergreens, they're most likely going to be 100% Italian cypress. Cupressus sempervirens. Sempervirens evergreen. Now they are a Cupressus, so they are we call old world cypress. And it is these are very old and very big. These are about 60 feet high, maybe 50, 60, pretty big. That trunk here, I'm going to kind of walk up to that trunk. It's almost as big around as I am, about half my size, half my thickness, pretty big. So they do get into a big tree form, and they are very, very dense. So you can have there are dwarf varieties of these trees that stay a lot more narrow and compact. There's some more there in the distance in the fog there, these tall, narrow guys. The foliage, if you were to just look at the leaves, let's go in here, looks very similar to like a juniper. In fact, if I were just to pull these leaves off and put them next to something like, let's say, a Juniperus chinensis, it would be very hard to tell them apart. Now, the cones on these are bigger than most junipers, but they are also very similar to a juniper. So you will always be able to tell this plant by looking at its shape. Cupressus sempervirens always has this tall, narrow shape. One thing I don't like about this plant is it does this kind of messy thing inside where all the leaves kind of fall down, and it's so dense. It's such a dense, look at that. It's such a dense mass of twigs and stuff in there. A lot of it dead, and a lot of the dead foliage gets stuck in this mass here, and it becomes kind of like a home for rats and things. And as they age, like this is a good example, they do kind of get messy because the bottoms start to die off as it starts to form a tree shape. And in very, very old age, they will actually broaden out a bit. These trees, I have no idea how old they are. They've got to be at least 40 years old because they're quite fat. Most of the Italian cypresses you see in the neighborhoods and whatnot aren't going to be this big. Most of them in the high desert where you guys are at, or where for Victor Valley College, they're going to be a little bit smaller just because they're age. But again, they will eventually get huge. Now, we had some on campus that are about 40 feet high, but they cut them down. So I don't have any more to show you. Oh, again, so that's Cupressus sempervirens. Remember that shape? That's the one thing you're going to be able to tell them apart from all the other conifers, is that tall, skinny shape.